if you think that somebody else did more with more time than Draisaitl, who was hurt, that's fine. You know who did not play more than Leon Draisaitl? Connor Hellebuyck.
I mean, relative to...
I don't think that's a fair
the
comparison.
workload for Connor Hellebuyck was insane.
When we were talking Conn Smythe, somebody in the chat said that it's got to be Leon who wins Conn Smythe. How fitting would it be if Leon Draisaitl, after missing out on the Hart, which we can say was maybe a little bit of his choosing, but after missing out on the Hart, goes and gets the Conn Smythe? That would be sweet for him. Instead, it's Connor Hellebuyck who wins the Hart over Draisaitl, over Kucherov. We had this conversation all year. Who should it be? How are people voting? Draisaitl looks like he's running
MacKinnon's case.
What's that?
How does it affect Nathan MacKinnon's case?
Exactly.
How does Connor Hellebuyck winning the Hart affect Nathan MacKinnon's case?
And honestly, maybe we should have been asking, how does Nathan MacKinnon affect Leon Draisaitl's Stanley Cup odds?
How does Nathan MacKinnon's case for Hart affect Connor Hellebuyck's case for Hart? Because ultimately, I land on the reason Connor Hellebuyck won Hart this year is because there were too many skaters involved.
Yeah, oh yeah, they all split the votes.
They all split the votes.
It's Joe Stein.
And if you were undecided on which skater was going to get your vote, I think a lot of them just voted for Connor Hellebuyck. And that's not to say that Connor Hellebuyck didn't deserve Hart. Like, I think he's a worthwhile Hart winner.
He did not deserve Hart, but go on.
I'm surprised that he won Hart. Especially when I feel like he had years prior to this where he was a more deserving Hart winner in terms of what he meant to his team, to the value that he brought, and the difference that he made for his team. And you can say, like, the Jets wouldn't have been President's Trophy winners without Connor Hellebuyck this season. Sure, but this was also arguably the best Winnipeg Jets team that Connor Hellebuyck played behind, which is why I said all year long I didn't think that he was going to win the Hart. This was a team that finished third in the regular season in goals scored. I'm surprised that he won the Hart.
I'm not, because we saw these little pieces throughout the year where voters were saying God knows what, but the points breakdown goes Hellebuyck 1346, 1,346 votes. Points. Leon Draisaitl 1,209. So very, very close. And then it's 3 and 4. That's what really does it. Kucherov 973 and Nathan MacKinnon 972.
With more first place votes, interestingly.
That's right. Nathan MacKinnon gets more than Kucherov. Yes, I think that there was an anti-Kucherov bias because he didn't enter the conversation until there were 2 weeks left in the season. And people were like, well, I didn't say in my Greg Wyshynski piece 2 months ago that I was considering him. Now, could I really vote him first? Yes.
I feel like there might just be a general anti-Nikita Kucherov sentiment.
People are just sick of him.
Maybe, but I also think that, like, Kucherov's case is hurt by the players that he played alongside. Like, he played
Merchant
on the best
Jake Gensel Merchant.
The best line of any of those skaters.
Yes.
And he was a big part of the reason why they were the best line of any of those skaters. But, like, look at the players that Leon Draisaitl played with for most of the season. Look at the players and how many of them Nathan MacKinnon played with throughout the course of the season.
I think Draisaitl missing 11 games late in the season threw voters for a loop. And a lot of them clearly were still very comfortable making him their first place vote. But damn, if you're not going to go Draisaitl, just go Kucherov. And I think we all agree Draisaitl was the best player during the regular season, but I don't think that he necessarily should have been the Hart winner. If you think that somebody did more in more games, and Nikita Kucherov had more points per game than Leon Draisaitl obviously had way more goals than anybody else, but if you think that somebody else did more with more time than Draisaitl, who was hurt, that's fine. You know who did not play more than Leon Draisaitl? Connor Hellebuyck.
I mean, relative to...
I don't think that's a fair
comparison. The workload for Connor Hellebuyck was insane. I think that's a horrible case against Connor Hellebuyck.
I'm not voting a goalie for Hart.
Well, I think that's fine.
I mean, if you want to say that you'll never vote a goalie for Hart because he plays less games than skaters, that's fine. But using, like, the workload comparison, just say, like I would never vote for a goalie.
People are saying, like, oh, Connor Hellebuyck played more than any other goalie, therefore he's my Hart winner. Okay, he played less than every other skater.
Yeah, but I mean, if a pitcher started pitching on 2 days rest, they'd still play less than Shohei Ohtani, but that's still impressive considering the position they play.
Yeah,
If that pitcher's better than-
I really dislike removing a position from consideration for being the most valuable.
I think unless something extreme happens, you remove it. I never say never, but I like John Butchergross's ballot. John Butchergross absolutely partied on his. He went Draisaitl 1. He went, I want to say Makar 2.
He's got to have Eichel somewhere up there. Yeah, I was going to say, which I have no problem with.
Yeah, he went Draisaitl, Makar, Eichel, Kucherov, MacKinnon. You can look at his full ballot. It's on Twitter, formerly known as X. Love calling it that. He's got a party of a ballot. I agree with really all of his. I mean, he went Reinhart 1 for Selke. Anyway, I would have been cool with Kucherov getting it.
I think it was Draisaitl or Hellebuyck. I would have gone Draisaitl. I know the games played hurts, but I think you're talking about best skater or best goaltender. I would have gone best skater for Draisaitl. I think that he was the best player in the league, basically wire to wire. And then Hellebuyck. I think Hellebuyck may have been due one.
I say Dacky is kind of making this point. Like, if you do want to have the workload conversation, a somewhat easy, it's whatever, like
Vejmelka.
Response to that. Well, no. Yes, Vejmelka should have won Hart. Is that they're on the ice for 60 minutes, and that is not the case for the skaters.
True.
Granted, obviously, in theory, half of the game is not played on their side of the ice, but I think it's a slightly more complicated conversation than saying they don't play as many games.
Do you know why they're on the ice for 60 minutes? And this isn't an anti-goalie take. Because
they can be on the ice for 60 minutes?
They don't have a job that's so hard that
fair.
you have to get off the ice after 30 seconds. You could get to just stand there for a while.
Counterpoint to that.
Goaltending's easy. Anyone can do it.
Counterpoint to that, I think
Agreed.
More goaltenders would be effective skaters than skaters would be effective goaltenders.
If that's factoring into someone's hard voting, I am.
I agree.
But you're saying the job is harder for the skaters.
Well, I'm saying
physically,
it's harder to do for.
It's more exertion.
You can't be out there for 60 minutes.
It's more exertion, but it's more of a skill to be a goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation's a little ridiculous in general. I think it's more ridiculous at some of the first place votes that were handed out, mainly the Nick Suzuki one. That's shocking to me.
The Nick Suzuki one.
I think that was kind of cute.
Yeah, cute, sure. Alex Ovechkin one, I think I love because I feel like it's
somebody cares about narratives.
Well, not only that, but it's like, look at how bad they were once they stopped playing for him.
Honestly, that's a fine case. Like, and we've heard from Spencer Carberry saying, I think that Ovi's goal chase really energized and brought this group together. And look at the results after he hit that mark. They fell apart.
Yeah, although if they had given it to him, I feel like I would have thought that was like a big career achievement award, which should not be the case for the Hart.
Yes,
but
I agree.
I do think he certainly was. I've always been a value truther when it comes to most valuable. Like, it should be the person that provides the most value to their team. And so, and part of that is you have to win, and B, it's not necessarily like the best season. So I was Josh Allen should have won the MVP. He's more valuable to the Buffalo Bills than Lamar Jackson is to the Baltimore Ravens, even though on paper Lamar had a better season than Josh Allen.
Okay. I mean, if we're doing that, and I kind of want to get off this, but if we're doing that, is Connor Hellebuyck the most valuable guy on his team? I think that people look at the Jets, and Pete's talked about this, where they're just like, how are the Jets winning? It must be the goalie, and they had a really good first line.
They had a really good first line.
Guys who were scoring.
Scored a bunch of goals.
Yeah.
They defended fairly well in front of them this year. Like, this was not the year that I would say Connor Hellebuyck is the reason the Jets made the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, that
has been the case many times.
I said it last night. At least for me, this is the most immediately forgettable Hart winner ever.
I mean, my only response to that is it's not because it's a goalie that won, but I agree that we came off of a season where we had somebody score 70 goals and they weren't even a finalist.
Yeah.
And
And we know that also at the end of it, we're like, yeah, but he wasn't the best player. It was just like he had a good season. People wanted to vote him.
And there was no real, outside of Draisaitl, who obviously had missed games, there was no real skater that was like, God damn, that guy's going to win Hart. Where there usually is. Like, I go back to when did Ullmark win Vezina? Was that
2021, 22?
22. Like his numbers during that season, obviously the workload wasn't as big. All of his numbers were better than Hellebuyck's this year. Better save percentage by like a pretty healthy margin. He had a .938 save percentage. His goals against average was better. Had more goals saved above expected. Less wins, less shutouts, but again, less games played. The reason that Ullmark finished 10th in Hart voting that year was because Connor McDavid got like every first place vote minus like one.
We all silly like the mayor.